Hi friends! So a couple of months ago, I got an email in my inbox inviting me to be a YouTube Creators for Change fellow. What? I love what we do on this channel, telling stories about how we see the world and how we want to make it better, but do we, you and me, here in these videos, really create change? Well, yeah, actually. Here's the thing. Since the last election here in the US, a lot of people, myself included, are seeing how things like hate speech and extremism and xenophobia are showing up in our everyday lives. If they affect us personally, they're really scary. And if they don't, we feel like maybe I don't have any power to fix this. I want to create change, but I'm just me. I'm not strong enough to do it by myself. That's why I talked to one of the strongest women I know. Jess Morales Rocketto is a friend, a mentor, and an incredible activist. She's done things like help to elect President Obama. She's fought for workers to get fair wages. She's fought for immigrant rights. She's helped organize the protests that happened in airports across the US in the wake of the ban on people from Muslim countries entering the US. If anyone knows how to make things change, it's Jess. Let's go meet her.
I'm Jess Morales Rocketto, and I like to say that I'm a digital community organizer, which is a fancy way of saying that I help recruit and connect people to causes that they care about, and I mostly do it online.
If I'd never heard of organizing before, what is organizing?
I think that right now, like in 2017 Trump era, it can feel sort of like I always hear from people like, I really want to do something. Mm-hmm. And organizing is the answer to what you would do.
Yeah.
So when people are like, I want to help, like what they really mean is, I want to organize. They just don't know about organizing yet. And part of what we do in organizing is try to figure out how to change the things that we don't like. Or maybe it's not even about not liking them. It's just like, I know that things could be better. And organizing is saying, I'm going to accept responsibility to make things better.
All right, I'm familiar with this feeling because when I was a kid, I thought I was gonna make things better. Just all the things, the whole thing. To start, I was gonna become president and just immediately end all wars, divert military spending towards education and food and housing for the poor. Things better. So to get ready, in 8th grade, I decided to run in my school's mock election. I made a blog about my experiences and I prepped for the debates, and I quickly figured out that it's a lot more complicated than that.
Like, our government is complicated, and that's at like the federal level, but it also, I think sometimes it's especially complicated when it gets down to like something in my town seems not right, or my school. One, for me, it means, okay, I have to find a solution to the problem. And two, I think it means I have to enlist other people to be part of fixing it. So I think that in school, folks make you feel like Rosa Parks like went to the back of the bus and then she never and that was it. That's a lie. I mean, she was amazing and courageous and like all power to Rosa. She was part of a strategy that was about the Montgomery bus boycott. So there was her, and then there was a lot of other people who were taking lots of different types of action. So it isn't like one person. There's always somebody behind that one person. There's usually a lot of somebodies behind that one person. So that's why you have to enlist people. You have to say like, come on.
All right, that feeling that you're just one person, well, yeah, you are just one person. Of course you can't fix everything by yourself. That's why I couldn't even win an 8th grade election on my own. But Jess explained to me that that's what organizing is for. It's so that you don't have to do everything by yourself. You don't even have to do everything. Maybe you just start with one small, achievable thing.
If you're like our age, like I'm used to like my food coming when I order it and my groceries coming when 2 hours after I order them, I didn't have to leave my house. I think that it's hard to be like, yeah, in 5 years we might make some kind of incremental progress that maybe you never see. Mm-hmm. So I also think it's really important to think about what is the impact that you want to make as a person. So as Taylor, as Jess, as whoever's watching this, like, what's the thing that you want to change? Maybe you should be slightly more realistic than full equality for women. Like, it takes a lot of people to do that. One person can't do that on their own. So maybe the answer is just like at your school or at your job, you like want dudes to stop interrupting you. Like, if a dude heard that like you can't be interrupted and then he stopped doing that, like that actually is progress.
What I didn't understand was that even a small fight isn't one that you take on alone. To change your office culture, you might need to talk to all the women in your office. To win a school election, you might need to gather up all your friends. Even Jess turned to her friends, who turned to their friends, who turned to thousands of people protesting at airports nationwide.
I recently helped organize airport protests all around the country. So when there was a Muslim travel ban and people went to the airport to protest it, I helped make those happen. It was amazing. And I was like doing it over Twitter, and people would DM me and they would be like, how do I start a protest? And the first thing I said to them was, go pick up some friends. Get in your car and go to your friend's house. And I just think I like doing most things with my friends. I like going to eat ice cream with my friends. I like binge watching TV shows with my friends. And I also like organizing with my friends. It's easier to do when you're not alone. There's more people to do the work.
Yeah.
But also sort of two heads are better than one. If you're trying to figure out a solution for probably a fairly complex problem, you probably need some other folks with you.
Cool. Stronger together. Safety in numbers. Let's just gather up a bunch of people and we'll win. Not exactly true. See, the thing that Jess taught me about organizing is that it's also a game of stamina. It's not quite patience, it's perseverance. You're going to lose some battles in the fight for progress, so you've got to be ready to organize for the long haul.
It takes a long time. I think about this in relation to women's equality. So, people always were like, the 60s, people burned their bras, but actually no, in the early 1900s, when that sort of fight started. Mm-hmm. And not even before that, the progress that we have as women has happened because people have been fighting for literally 100 years or more.
Yeah.
So I think when I put it in the context of a century, I'm like, okay, so there's room to go, but we have come a really long way. And especially as a woman of color, I think about that a lot. I'm Latina, and my grandfather worked as a migrant farmer, and my grandmother worked at home because there really wasn't another job for her except maybe being a maid. And on my other side, my grandmother was a maid, and now I've worked for, a president, and the first Black president, and one of America's premier stateswomen who ran to try to be the first woman president twice. Mm-hmm. That was in 2 generations, so that feels like a short amount of time to me because I know my grandfather.
Yeah.
Right? And so then I think about okay, in 2 more generations, so my daughter's daughter, what could that be like? Well, she could probably be the president.
It's gonna take a long time to create big change. And what's even more frustrating is that not everyone's gonna be on your team. One of my blog entries after that 8th grade debate was this. One of the girls on the other side kept telling all the other kids that all minorities are poor and they're not educated enough to vote. And being a minority in a mostly white school, I was really upset, and this girl doesn't even seem to understand why. That was my first taste of realizing that when you want to make change, not everyone's going to like you. They may not always agree with you. In fact, they may disagree really loudly. They may say terrible things or even get violent. But according to Jess, that's reason enough to keep going.
Those folks to me are people that we just haven't persuaded yet. We haven't activated yet. I believe that 100% of people can be a part of whatever you're trying to change. And so I use them a little bit of a temperature check, oh, okay, well, we're not done yet. In particular, I think about this woman, Dolores Huerta, who is the founder of the United Farm Workers. And she always says, you can't be a good girl. That when we're growing up, people tell us, don't get your dress dirty and be nice and sugar and spice type stuff.
Yeah.
And fuck that. And I think that has really helped me when I'm a little bit discouraged. There's a woman who worked in the fields, picking her food in the fields, and she organized people, and she's been doing this since she was my age, and she's still doing it at 80, 90, maybe even. She gets up every morning and fights for equality, the thing she's been getting up every morning and doing for a really long time. And like has been discouraged and just like hasn't let that stop her.
We're not gonna let it stop us either, and here's why. I asked Jess to tell me the story of a time when all the work, all the losses, all the disappointments were worth it. A time when she got to actually see the thing that she had been working for happen.
I was coming home from brunch when I saw that the first airport protest had happened at JFK Airport. And if you're not a New Yorker, it's like probably hard to understand, like nobody goes to JFK, like you avoid JFK like at all costs. So the idea that New Yorkers would just spontaneously go to JFK Airport was like, whoa. Got an email from a friend who was like, hey, we think there are protests in other places. She was at the JFK protest, and she said, we think there are protests in other places. Can someone look on Twitter and see, like, is there other protests? And I was like looking at that on my phone, and I was like, well, I hope somebody does that. And then I was like, oh, I'm somebody. It's me.
Yeah.
I should do it. So then I started looking, and I couldn't believe it because I couldn't find any other protests. I started searching new search terms on Twitter. I started like looking at my friends who I knew were like likely protesters, and none of them had started anything. So then I Wikipedia'd. What are the 20 airports that are get the most international flights every day? And I found the top 20 airports, and I was like, okay, that's our targets. And then I started calling friends who live in those places, and then I started tagging them on Facebook and tweeting at them, and then they started tagging their friends and tweeting at them, and you know, it kind of took on a life of its own. And then some groups started planning their own protests. There was this school teacher in St. Louis, and she Twitter DM'd me, and she was like, well, I've never planned a protest, but I really care about this. Like, what do I do? And I sent her, I was like, okay, what's your email? And I sent her an email that was like, 1, get in a car and pick up some friends. 2, like, think of some chants and some songs to sing while you're in the car on the way to the airport. Like, 3, when you get there, don't leave. Like, they're gonna try to make you leave, don't leave. It was something so big, right? Like, and it wasn't just me. There were so many people who went to airports, who tweeted about it, who planned it, who made signs, who stayed there. There were hundreds of thousands of people that had come out. And I started kind of switching into trying to show people what the protests were like. And I found a video of the Dulles airport, and there were a huge number of protesters. And at the Dulles airport, there's like a big hallway, and there's the doors, and on one side of the doors was this woman. She was in a full covering, and she was a Muslim woman. On the other side of those doors is hundreds of people, and they're super diverse. Some of them are holding American flags, some of them are holding Black Lives Matter signs, and they're like singing, and there's music, and there's kids coloring. And she makes it through the other side, and she was clearly like a woman who had been, would have been affected by the travel ban. And she looked like, when she comes over, like just the room just like erupts in cheers. And at first she like honestly looks a little scared and bewildered, which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I think I would too. I don't think she knew that on the other side were all these people who were trying to help make sure that she could get through those doors. And then she gets excited too. She like erupts. And I'd never seen people do that for a Muslim woman. I'd never seen people do that in the Dulles airport. I just never seen so many people do that for immigrants. And I had kind of given up hope after November that there were people like that. And they were all over the world. they were there. And they stayed, and they made it like so amazing. And I realized that I had to keep answering the call. I hope somebody does that. Like, that somebody is me, and it's them, and it's that woman. And I believe that we can be like that again. I've told that story at a couple of different places, and like every time I'm like, I'm gonna get it through it without crying. But probably not. Probably not. I was just one person. In my small apartment with my dogs, and I was tweeting.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of us doing that. And it took us going to airports, and it took us making signs, and it took us being like, I'm tired after work, but I'm still gonna go. Mm-hmm. And I think like that's what we gotta keep doing.
Yeah.
All right, okay, you've got me. I want to be that somebody. I want to find something that's not right and use organizing to make it better. But where do I even start?
You should have a house party. So
a
house party in organizing is like the very first step. Mm-hmm. You call your friends, and you get together and you could have some wine or some food, and you kind of figure out like what's the thing that we want to change. And sometimes that can be big and sometimes it can be small. So I've been at a house meeting where we decided that what we wanted to change was we wanted to run a candidate for Congress. And we didn't have any money, but we had to go out and like research and figure that out. So I would say the thing that you should do is you should get you and like your best girls. Okay. Get your squad together and figure out what you want to change. And it's going to take a little bit of research, and it's also going to take you kind of looking around and seeing who's already trying to change it. Could you partner up with them? And then you should try to do one thing. Right now, I'm helping some friends who are trying to organize care packages for trans service members. It could be like volunteering for a candidate because there's a really important election coming up. Or it could be going to a protest. But I think like that's step one, because once you do it one time, I think you'll do it another time. It feels really good. It's like, I say that organizing is the same as exercising. It can be a little bit hard to get started, but then once you get started, you're like, oh, look at that glow. You can even you can Google like how to have a house meeting, and there's tons of resources online to help you do that. It's like something people have been doing for many, many, many years. Lots of your favorite social movement baes got their start like having a house meeting with their friends. And I suspect that after you do that one time, then you'll kind of see what you should do next after that.
That is, I think, a really good challenge because it's, I've done organizing in different ways before, but that is something that I've never done. So this will be a new experience for me. Yay! And we can all do it together. Yay! So great.
Okay, so quick recap if you're playing along at home. First, we're gonna decide to be the somebody to fix a problem. Did you do it? Did you decide? Great. All right, we're already part of the way there. Second, we're going to pick something smaller specific to start. And third, we're gonna ask our friends to help us. I'm gonna ask my friends here in New York for some help by throwing an organizing house party. But I'm also gonna ask you, my internet friends, to help me too. I want us to all do this together. So if you wanna also host a house party for your own kind of organizing, there's gonna be a link in the description to sign up to do that. If you host a house party and you do it by October 14th, I want to put you in a future video in this Creators for Change series. Until then, tell me in comments about a thing in your state or your city or your school or your job that you want to change. And I will see you soon. Bye.